Yeah. The curse of confidence. Yes. That's how they work. Then you can't. Yeah. Get going. Okay, we are going to call to order the regular meeting of the Larkspur Parks and Recreation Commission for Thursday, June 20th, 2024, and we are starting at 6:31. Shall we have roll call?
Yes. Vice Chair Harrison,
Here.
Commissioner Baxter,
Here.
Commissioner Sunshine,
Here.
Commissioner Friedel.
Here.
And Chair Capel is absent tonight.
Okay, thank you. All right, the first order of business after roll call is the public comment period. This is the time period when we will hear public comments on those matters which we have jurisdiction. And looking around the room, I don't see anyone that might be interested in making public comment, and we don't take them online any longer, correct?
Correct.
Okay, well, with that, then I guess we will close the public comment period and move to item number 3, which is the approval of the consent calendar. And we have item 3.1, which is approval of the minutes of April 18th, 2024.
Great. I'd like to move to approve those.
Do we have a second?
I can second this, I was here the other day.
Yeah, I'll second. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
And the second item under 3.2 is the approval of the minutes from May 24th, 2024. I'll move to approve.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
We have no public hearings this evening, so we will move rapidly to the business items. And the first item would be 5.1, educational signage at Piper Park. Rita?
Hello,
Hi.
good evening, commissioners. I'm Rita Schock, Department of Public Works, Administrative Analyst too. I want to apologize for a typo on the staff report. Commissioner Friedel's last name is misspelled, so I am very sorry about that. I didn't catch it before it went to print, and I beg your forgiveness. Okay, so educational signage at Piper Park. So this is a kind of a NIC, or Rec and Public Works Co-project. So, you know, we recognize that Piper Park is a pretty special place with its unique setting next to the creek and the tidal marsh. It is very vibrant, lots of uses, a lot of active uses that we can all see, the soccer, the playground, the picnic, the tennis, all that. But what gets missed sometimes is the passive uses. So people just strolling around the path and looking at the tidal marsh and the critters and the flowers and the grasses and all that. And so, given that it's got such a beautiful environmental setting, it came to my attention from the rec department that perhaps this is something that we want to highlight. So I will let my esteemed colleague here talk about why that feels like a good idea.
Yeah, so we, main thing, we've always talked about putting educational signage at Piper Park. There used to be, when I started here, there was a sign that spoke a little bit about the marsh out there. Oh, just next time. Oh, there it is right in the middle. Beautiful sign right in the middle. And, you know, had the information, and that sign, this picture was actually taken, I think, a couple years ago. I think it's pretty much, you can't even read it anymore. And sure enough, people still stop there. So when they take the walks around the park, they will stop and read. I see a lot of people that stop at the community garden sign that was just donated by the Larkspur Community Foundation. And more recently, we put this example number 1 here, Life in the Estuary, was added as part of the Bon Air mitigation project, and it was added over by the the far side of the garden off the path. And when that went in, we got a ton of comments, both in person and over the phone about how much they loved this sign. This sign was done by the contractor. It was kind of put in, and we knew a sign was gonna go in, but it kind of just went in. And I think this is kind of it's a really nice sign, but it's kind of a stock image that has been used, generic sign that's been used and is likely in some other parks locally as well. But again, you can see the footprints from people walking off the path to go read it. And then at the same time, our friends in Nevada Park and Rec recently put in some signage at Scottsdale Pond. Is this getting into your area?
Nope.
No, okay. In the Scottsdale Pond, which is over off the freeway, 101, kind of in the Vintage Oaks, across the 101 from the Vintage Oaks Shopping Center. And they used a local artist who's here with us today to talk a little bit. But they had a huge, good turnout for their events that they did around this, and people have responded positively to this. By using a local artist, we can, we can really focus in on, local birds and species that we can find right at Piper Park, which is cool. And I'll let Ms. Oil speak to that in a bit. But what I really like about this is that we can potentially highlight what's happening at Piper Park and give, I want to say kids, but really anybody a little bit of history of what's going on there, or the information about the nature that's happening all around them. And then we talked too about doing a sign that will focus on the history of Piper Park, which is something that comes up, which is shocking to me whenever I'm talking to people about Piper Park, that they don't know that it was a former dump. They don't know that it was a former county dump and that they're standing on garbage from years past. So it's just kind of a cool thing that I think people would care a lot about to know the history.
And also it's also recommended in the Piper Park Master Plan, the 2012 one. So that was something that was brought up as a possible improvement for the park. So I'm going to talk about the money part of it. So basically the design work, which was the proposal was submitted by Emma over here. And this would be, what she's doing tonight through basically delivering a production ready art copy that could then be taken over to the fabricators. And that would, so her work would be about $7,000. And then the fabrication of the signs would be about $8,000. We would go ahead and have our crew, the DPW crew, install it. So that's, it's, there's no cost here shown. Obviously there's a cost to the staff, but for the project purposes, we're just calling that a zero line item. So the total budget would be about $15,000. The funding would, this is currently a project that has not been identified or anything in the CIP project. So this would be a one-off that we would ask your recommendation if you wanted to support this project. We would use Measure A funds to pay for it. There's an outside possibility that, because of the tidal marsh project, the tidal marsh restoration project that was part of the bond air mitigation project, we still have to do something towards that. So there's some exploration going on what to do. It's possible that the money for that had been allocated to the tidal marsh restoration project could pay for this. But it's kind of an outside possibility. So most likely it would need to be funded by Measure A, but I do want to just, in case it came to pass, just let you know about that. So I think not going to ask you right this minute for a recommendation. We're going to wait to have the artist present, her concept and ideas, and then at the end we can have you give us your thoughts on recommending expending the funds. So with that, are you ready? Okay. I'm gonna type this out to tonight and.
You can stand at the podium and microphone.
Thanks, Rita.
No, it's not. Just the pictures too helpful, I think. What I intended to say.
Okay, so this is Emma Boyle. Emma Boyle Illustrations.
I am a scientific illustrator. My undergrad was in ecology, evolution, and biodiversity at the University of Davis. And then I went and got my graduate certificate in scientific illustration from the Cal State Monterey. Were the otters, which I just think is the cutest thing. And I've been a professional for about a year and a half, and I find that a lot of my passion has been going towards community education and community engagement. So I'm really excited that I got reached out to about this project. Scottsdale Pond was a bit of a passion project for me too. I actually reached out to the city about that because I grew up in Nevada and I visit the pond all of the time. And I noticed that their signs were getting a little bit old. I was actually back there this morning and I saw a bird I've never seen before, which was super cool. So yeah, I really love finding out the specifics of regional biodiversity and ecology. Because as you may know, California, and especially Northern California, is one of the most biodiverse areas in the country, if not the world. And it's really cool to get to have colorful signs that parents and children and anyone that is part of the community can walk up and learn about the place where they live. I believe it's this is going to be a series of up to 5 signs that you guys will get to decide on the topics. I wrote down a list of potential topics for you guys. I think that is. Oh,
They've got a copy
you got
on the
it.
desk.
And then I also provided a rough idea of what a composition might look like. This one in particular is the ecology of Mount Tamalpais. Let's see, was there anything else that I wanted to say? I think all of these topics that I wrote down are equally interesting and informative about the local region. So please let me know, or let the Parks and Rec people know which ones you'd like to do and whether you'd like to go forward with this project.
Did you have any questions on any of the things on the list? Or did you want her to maybe do a little, maybe just a little blurb on each one, or how did you want to?
I think it'd be great to hear a blurb on each one, but what my fellow commissioners think.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful.
All right, some of these might actually be things that Nick can speak to a little bit more than me as somebody who's from Nevada. But as you probably already heard, the park has a pretty cool history. It was part of the ancestral lands of the coastal Miwok, got turned into a dump and reclaimed into a park, and the marsh is, to my understanding, partially reclaimed, which is really cool. The community garden is beautiful and seems really popular, and it would be really cool to have a sign talking about how that was founded and how community members participate in maintaining it. Mount Tam is something that a lot of people around here see every day as they're going around, and it was formed by some really cool geological processes in the distant past. And it's part of the Mount Tam watershed, which is really important and ecologically diverse. Number 4, the importance of tides. Brackish water, which is between the salinity of the ocean and freshwater, is really unique and supports unique ecosystems, especially for small mammals and birds. It provides a lot of habitat for them that they don't find in other places. And then just the biodiversity, this would be something that I have to research more closely. A lot of my research is basically on the ground. I go out and see what I can see, and then I compare that to iNaturalist, which, if you've ever heard of it, is an amazing citizen science project. Anyone can participate on their app or on the computer, and you basically just take pictures and try to identify any organism you've seen, and other people can confirm or suggest new IDs, and researchers get to use this as a free data bank of biodiversity across the world. I believe their city nature project had over 100 different countries participate in it this year. So yeah, my personal favorite is the birds. I'm a birder, and birds are probably my favorite animal. But yeah, ecology in general is really interesting, and I don't think many people realize how much nature exists within city limits and that they're coexisting with every day. So thank you. Any other questions?
Comments?
Questions from Nick. Read them.
Okay.
I think this looks great. I'd be curious if we knew more about the Miwoks that lived in the park and what they did there. I think some of the important narratives for Larkspur are the conservation story, taking the landfill and moving it to a land that everyone in the community can enjoy, but also there's these other kind of narratives here between the Miwok Indians and maybe some of these species. I knew one of the biggest projects that Larkspur had was the Bon Air Bridge project, and kind of a part of that was some of these other critters and features of biodiversity that played a role in that and were maybe temporarily displaced, but came back, and might be nice to mention that.
Yeah, the sign that Nick pointed out is lovely, but I did notice a couple of species that are generally in California marshes, but I didn't manage to find any in the Corte Madera marsh when I looked for myself. So it would be cool to have a more specialized sign about that.
Yeah, and I particularly like the importance of the tides on the ecology. Just being out and about and along the creek frequently, I hear people talking and wondering about, is this freshwater? Is it tidal? Is it bay? And I think having something that kind of would speak to that, it would be very, very well received.
Okay.
Because it is something that puzzles a lot of people.
Yeah. Marshes are very mysterious and interesting ecosystem.
Okay, we can always come back and ask you questions.
Mhm.
We have, okay, then. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Right.
Thank you.
Very, very cool.
Oh, so I have operational questions, of course, you know that. The first, you answered my first question was it part of the master plan?
Right.
You know, I was gonna ask that. So, it's always my question. So the first question is the materials that you made out of, and obviously being out in the park for every Friday of my summer. The materials, because we have such a diversity, hot, cold, rain, fog. So what would the materials be that they hold up?
So they would be, pretty much the ones, example 1 and 3. In your staff report. Or you can put that to that slide. Yeah, right, if you look up on the screen.
Yeah.
Let's not do 2.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not gonna do 2, pass on that one.
And so I just.
Yeah, so it's the frame is metal,
Okay.
powder coated metal, and then on top would be it's like PVC laminated,
Okay.
so it's nothing that fades. It's
There's no
UV
cover
protected.
that goes over it, it's like,
No,
there's no little roof.
no, it's just, it's flat and it's meant to be outside and it's UV, it's got UV
I figured it was
protection
something
on
like
it.
And
So,
then
yeah,
my only other thing is we spent many hours picking signage for our parks. That's beautiful, and it's painted beautifully.
mhm.
Is there any way to incorporate that into the signage so that it belongs in our parks? The signage that is in front of all the parks that we're installing as we finish the parks.
Uh-huh.
It's
The
beautiful.
entrance signs, okay, yes,
It's
yes.
beautiful.
All right, oh, thank you.
So is it, and we spent so much time defining it. and
Right.
Is there any way to make that part of this so that if it lived in some way, in some capacity, I don't know what that is. If it was small or defined or some, I don't know. So I just think, so it looked like it matched in some capacity. And again, not my strong suit, but we spent so much time making our parks match. And as we move forward with them, they're all going to have that. I just think that these are beautiful. I love this idea. If you're gonna look to try to get us to agree on 5 out of 8, Godspeed to y'all. But
That might have been something I forgot to mention.
We can-
Not every topic has to be an individual sign. If you think that some feels like you can put some lines, that is perfectly fine too. If you want to see all those topics, we can find a way.
I just know the spirit. So that's all I was just thinking. I was just thinking,
Yeah.
when we think about that, I was just like, we've done such a long process and they're so
Yeah.
beautiful. These are gonna be in the park, but there's no connection to the
Right.
signage. That's all I was thinking. And I don't know if there's a way that, that's what I'm saying, if there was a way that it was encased in that, there'd be a way to incorporate that. That's all I was thinking.
Color palette or material potentially.
Maybe, that's all I was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, one thing though is we do have
Again, I know.
2 existing signs, one and, so there would be some sense to have some continuity in that, that. in
I'm
that
sure 5
aspect.
would match.
Yeah, right, and, I mean, I'm sort of thinking since example 1 is the most recent one that we should. My thought is just to kind of go along with that, because a part of it is, you've
Well,
been on
3
these.
is on a fence and we're not having fencing like that.
It actually, it looks like it's on a fence, but it's not.
Weird
It's
brush,
on,
yeah.
yeah, it's just,
Okay.
the angle is weird. But I think that, these signs would be sort of, sort of at waist level, and the idea is that you're standing there, you're looking at the sign, but you're also looking. So in some ways, I almost would like the sign to not disappear exactly, but just not be so prominent, like, because really the star of the show is.
Or you wanna say what's behind it. more.
Yeah, right. So that's just my thought though, but but I'd love to hear what you'll have to.
Those are my 2 thoughts.
Okay.
I think that's great. I know the park entrance signs that we have for each parks also have some expensive steel on them and other
Yeah.
really neat features, which I think kind of in my mind brings into the question of budget. Are there other items that are competing for this funding at this point in time?
Yeah, so all of the funding for parks is through Measure A and,
Okay.
and I was thinking actually, Mike has asked me about this before and I thought maybe, maybe either the next meeting or the meeting after that, maybe I'll just do like a funding presentation, like this is how much we've gotten over the years, this is what we spent. So roughly right now, we have about $400,000 in the Measure A funds, which is to be used for parks. So out of that, and I'll be presenting about Greenbury School Park, but there are other things that are going to be coming down the line, but Greenbury School Park is the next project that's going to be in the queue. Heatherwood Phase 2, the Hillview Greenway, and then probably Remillard. And so every year we get about $110,000 in Measure A. And so this is based on a tax revenue. So it's a 1/4 sales tax, and then that's our share. It's collected by the county, and that's our share. So, so it's a good chunk. Of course, construction fees have gone up considerably, so it feels like it's harder and harder to get projects done. But we have $400,000, right? About roughly, as of today. and then next, so, that's where it would come from, so, we're talking $15,000 is a pretty small, chunk for that, relatively speaking, so.
I think a budget stuff, something in the next couple of meetings would be great because
Okay, yeah,
CIP went. For the city, CIP jumped from what, 60 to 111 million, so.
it's crazy,
Jumped
yes.
ridiculous amount.
Yeah, and you just touched on the park entrance signs a minute ago, and and I'm sorry, I should have included it in my parks update but I'll just say, I'll just put it in here now. We have the rest of the park entrance signs in our courtyard ready to be installed. And I thought I had a pretty good bead on a contractor to install it, and the installation price just blew my socks off, so I'm sort of like regrouping and trying to find, another contractor, but they will be going up, they're sitting there waiting to be installed, so hopefully within the next month, I'll have somebody on board to put those in, so.
Is anything park and rec related sitting on CIP?
No, usually
I don't think there's
we
anything
keep it
sitting
pretty
on that.
separate, yeah.
There's
Yeah.
the parking lot,
Well, that's the parking lot?
Piper.
Yeah,
I
but
think the
that's,
lot's
that's
on there. I
a,
think
yeah,
the
that,
parking lot's on there, but nothing.
Yeah.
That we
Yeah,
have purview.
but that's not through
Yeah,
Mission
it's
A.
not
Yes.
purview of us.
That's through the,
DPW.
yeah, it's actually, part of the street,
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
this Mission City Street funding,
Okay,
so it's a completely separate fund.
great.
So can I ask what next steps would be, what you're asking from us?
Oh, so either if you're ready to, come up with a short list of 5 of this tonight, you can. We can also do it over the, have you provide us with input separately. So I think that's what we're asking for so there's 2 things we're asking for. One, do you approve the project in general and then it being funded by Measure A? And then if that's a yes, then the second thing we're asking is which topics would you like to see? Well, exactly.
I would plan to do it too. Yeah, so I would make a motion to approve the project for $15,000.
Great, I'll second that.
Okay, I realize probably should have built a contingency in there.
Right, ice.
Yeah, so let's say 17,000. That's about 10%. Contingency.
Seriously, anyone do this to me?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Can we do this without having noticed? Notice
Notice.
we've noticed it, okay.
It's
Yeah.
business item, so
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's ready for, it's a business item. So I would then I would change my motion to ask for $17,000 approval for business item 5.1. Out of Measure A funds.
I second that.
Okay, any more discussion or shall we go right to vote? All right, let's take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Or do you want a roll call?
Do you
We
want
can-
roll
we-
call?
No, we can just hear, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0.
1, 3, 5, 6, 7.
And then I will just start the discussion and say, I would make a motion that the topics that we use would be 1, 3, 4, 6, and 7. As listed on the
1,
document.
3, 4, 6, 7. Okay, it's G.
You said 5, right? We're gonna do 5 for that budget.
Correct.
Okay,
As long as we mention the critter from the Bon Air Bridge project, I'm fine with those numbers.
So you can second and then have discussion,
Okay,
or you know it in second and then the motion dies.
do we have a second?
Okay, I second that. with
All
the
right.
discussion.
Let's open it up to discussion.
So what would you like to amend my motion as?
Well, as long as the critter from the bridge project gets mentioned in, number 1, I'd be fine with the selections.
Is
of-
critters on here?
Yeah, I think there's a specific marshmallows that was pretty.
maybe
pretty
5
cool.
is sort of the
Right, right, right.
biodiversity.
But maybe they get mentioned somewhere else.
Could we combine five with, could 5 and 6 be combined?
Maybe ask the artist
Yes.
Yeah, she's
what her
Yeah.
recommendation, as a very keen observer of.
Yeah, could 5 and 6 be combined?
Let's see.
And would that address the critter?
Yeah, so definitely, yes, 6, pardon me, could have been written as a sub version of 5. Plants and pollinators are, you know, within the umbrella of biodiversity, so yes,
So 5 and 6 could be one sign.
they could, yes.
Okay.
Okay,
7 too, honestly, biodiversity is a bit of an umbrella term, it just refers to the description of all individual species that exist within an ecosystem.
So it could be birds and critters, like.
Yes.
And the birds.
And that could be part of the food web, because I believe the critters eat the critters, so there was
So-
super
Yeah.
aid in there.
I like that, I like where you're at.
And
Yeah,
then I would modify my motion to be 1, 3, 4, 6 plus and 7. Okay. 6 plus being 6 plus the motion of 5, the addition of 5. Is that-
I would second that.
Okay,
6 plus.
so 6, we're talking about possibly combining 6 and 5, but letting
6 plus.
and letting the birds have their own because they're very special.
Prominent.
They are, marshes and creeks are particularly important to birds, especially flighted migratory birds. It's all these little watery areas with food provide important stopover sites for them. And I'm sure if you've been to the marsh, you have seen the egrets and the herons out there stalking the fish.
So 7 and 8 we could refer to 8 on the bird sign when we talk about the food sources.
Why
for
they're
birds,
visiting.
Why the birds migrate here and hang out for a short period of time.
Yes.
So basically just 2 get shafted.
they're incorporated.
Well, 2 has their own sign.
Oh, two.
2 already has a Larkspur Community Garden sign.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Do they need more?
No,
Likely not.
My brother, and
Oh, wow. All right, so we have a motion.
So a modified motion would be 1, 3, 4, 6 plus and 7.
All right, and does the second still stand or do we need a new second?
He seconded the
the
modified
second.
motion.
Okay, second modified motion, all right.
That's just these two, that's just these two negotiating.
No, I concur as
Oh,
long,
okay.
I wanted the birds to have their own.
Okay.
so we're essentially saying combine 5 and 6, right? The
That's 6
biodiversity is
plus. We call that 6 plus.
6 plus, and then combining 7 and 8,
Yes,
right?
yes. Something like that.
Does that, would that work? Okay.
All right, do you wanna roll call vote or? are you-
Yeah, I guess all in favor?
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Right, that was fun.
Yes, that's
That was-
Right,
I knew this would be
I
the
know.
fun part of the
This-
agenda.
really fun, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It's very, lots and lots of
Yeah.
hours of observing critters and.
I love when
birds.
we adult.
Yeah, that's what very good.
Like, I want my cake and everything.
Clear as marsh.
Yeah, so there's more.
Mark.
All right,
You're beautiful, you're gonna have so much. fun.
thank you very much.
There will be-
I'm just gonna hand you hard copies.
I really like that.
Number is in
I
there.
Thank you.
I think that's-
All right, we're going to move on to item 5.2, which is a parks update.
I got this.
Yeah. Like a running item at the hold up.
Up to you, we can ask.
This looks great. I am, and I'm volunteering. Yeah, we start at 5 or 5:30.
Well.
Okay.
I'm gonna fix everything now. Are you selling?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Right, I am going to put on my parks update hat. So, I'm
Yeah.
still Rita Shock.
That was good news.
And I'm gonna go ahead and start with, give you your parks update, which has been a while. I think the last time we did it was in January. So, first off the bat is Niven Park. Redesign has been completed. We have 100% construction drawings in draft mode. There's just a few more technical things that are being worked out, grading and things like that. But as far as like the top view, this is what the park is going to look like, has been completed. The is obviously the footprint is different. It's now kidney shaped as opposed to a triangle shape, but all the elements are still there. So the tall 21-foot teardrop play structure is still there. The pebble harp, the sand and water play, the hollow log, and then ups on the upper part of the playgrounds, a little circle time, all the California plantings, plus some ornamental sort of interesting plantings that, you know, they're not necessarily California native, but they're interesting for children. That's still there. The only play element that has been switched out is there used to be an embankment slide in the old location, but because the topography is much different, we're switching it out to 2 spinner pieces of playing equipment. And one of them is just one that you stand on and you spin, and you know, things with movement is really fun for children. And then the other one is, they call it a cozy cocoon, so it's actually round and you can sit inside of it, so it's good for children with all sorts of, you know, just emotional, physical, whatever challenges. And it's a nice little timeout place for children if they just want it to be quiet. They can get in the cocoon, but it's also an active toy. If you want it to be active, you can have kids, you know, multiple kids can play on it. So that's going to be going in there instead of the embankment slide. So I think that's actually, it's a good swap. The overall, the landscape area now is going to be a little much more, you know, we're going to extend the landscaping beyond the fence perimeter, just to give it, soften the edges a little there. But the actual footprint of the playground itself will remain about 5,300 square feet. And one, just a very, it seems like a minor thing, but I think it's actually very beautiful, is up on the very top, you see where the bike parking is. We've added landscaping around where the bike parking is going to be, which then kind of creates a nice entrance, because you'll walk down the path and there's landscaping on both sides, and it kind of starts to create the story of the discovery. And then you circle around, and then you'll go into the first gate, which brings you into the stroller parking, sort of the entrance area. There'll be the age sign there, welcome to the park. And, you know, parents can get their kids situated on a stroller, what have you. And then the gate shuts behind you, and then the second gate opens. So that's that safety feature we were trying to answer some of the safety concerns that people had. And again, the entrance to the playground faces the long part of Niven as opposed to the street. So again, if a child is, you know, wanting to escape out of the playground, they got to go through two gates, plus they got to go all the way around the playground. So that feels like that's a pretty good safety feature. So yeah, so we're, you know, full steam ahead here. Hopefully, you know, the contractor now has the plans, and you know, hopefully he's going to be ready to go. I'm hoping 30 days, but maybe 45.
Does this still involve planting of trees and things like that.
Everything, yeah, all the
Okay.
same, yeah.
'Cause I
plants and-
remember at the other location, there were a number of trees and variety of
Yeah.
trees were being planted, so
Yeah,
they
so-
will.
Yeah, so all that landscape, I mean, you can see where all
the
those
little
trees
green
are.
Circles.
Yeah, the circles of the trees, so it's all the same, pretty much everything is the same, it's just, you know, lengthened out instead of being like that teardrop shape.
Except don't tell.
Yep,
Can you tell us a little bit more?
oh,
about that?
sure, yeah, it's a small, it's a relatively small feature, but it'll be a grouping of like maybe 3 or 4 posts. And then on top of the posts will be wooden, almost like birdhouses, but they're designed for specific kinds of insects. So it's just visually, I'm sorry, I don't have the picture here, but it's just it's in so many other pictures, but I don't have it tonight. But it creates habitats for the different pollinators that, you know, mason bees, you know, honeybees, just any kind of insects that are in the area. Yeah. So we'll have 2 groupings of those, one would be, on right after you go through the vine, and then the other one will be closer to when you go through the pebble park.
It's very exciting.
Any questions about it?
I had a question, is there signage that has to exist on like height of kids that are allowed in there or anything like that, or?
Well,
because
it's,
public
yeah,
park?
so there's no ride, so yeah, it's not like an amusement park, but there is signage will be right there right in the front when you get into the stroller parking. And it'll say playground design for 2 to 5-year-olds. So it is intended to be for toddlers. You know, it's not enforceable, but yeah, it's designed for that age.
Yeah.
There's not an expectation that this is gonna be for big kids.
Okay.
And then that play structure, even though it is tall, you know, the openings are scaled for younger children. So, you know, it would be probably pretty difficult for, you know, I mean, kids will do it, but it'll be not super easy for, especially, you know, once you get into teenage kids to get in there.
And how long do you think construction will take?
I want to say 3 to 4 months. So hopefully before rainy season starts. I mean, that's going to be the big push, is to get this done before the rains come.
Great,
I think it's a great time.
very fun.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. So yeah, and then the donors, the Quambecks, are still super excited about this, and you know, they're just so wonderful to work with, and you know, it's been.
It was during that,
Yeah, yeah. Any other questions on Niven? I'm gonna move on to Greenbury School Park. Okay, so planning process has started for Greenbury School Park. For me, it always starts with the review of the mini parks action plan, looking through it. You know, most of the things we have done already, things like replacing the irrigation system with a smart irrigation controller, replacing broken lighting bollards, adding more benches, things like that have been done. There wasn't a whole lot here. It's just, you know, it's a pretty, this is a more, well, at the time when the mini park action plan was created, it was a pretty passive use park. In recent years, I think there's been more usage by dog owners, but you know, 10 years ago when this was being created, it was pretty passive use. Before I go into some of the community outreach, I just want to go over the numbers real quick. So whenever I'm approaching a CIP project, it's 3 phases. One is the project development, which is what we're in right now. It's the planning part of it. The second phase is the actual construction. And then the third phase is construction management. So this is happening while construction is going on. So it'll be inspectors and any other sort of support that's needed for the construction to take place. And that would include staff time. So up until previously spent the $21,715, that was when we had moved the climber from Dolliver Park to Greenberry School Park, so that, because that went into just, raw earth, and so, we had to do some excavation and then install it, some borders around it, put, wood fiber. So that was, and then, right, so that was $21,000, so that was spent on that. And then, so now available in the budget is this amount, so, that's what's budgeted in the CIP. Any questions on the money? I'm gonna move forward to. No, okay. All right, so, so this first phase now will be the community input. So as we saw from the Niven Park, situation, I'm being very much about letting people know this is happening, this is your time to provide input. And so I wanted to just kind of go over what I'm gonna be doing with you, and so in case I missed something, or if you wanted some, if you felt like maybe this is off, let me know. So I'll be sending by direct mail twice. It'll go once, and then in another couple weeks, I'll send another one, so it'll be on, the first one I'll do is a regular 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper on cardstock. And it'll look very official, the city hall logo, the city of Larkspur logo, notice to public. And make it very clear that it'll be big, so it's in there, hopefully can be seen, it'll be on colorful cardstock, like a neon green or something. And then a couple weeks later, or maybe I'll reverse it, but the second one will be in a city of Larkspur envelope. And again, with the same information, inviting people to participate in the survey. So that mailer will go specifically to the 19 residents that live around the park. So in your slide, it's all those houses that are highlighted in yellow. Now you'll see that there are houses that are on the left-hand side or the west side, but that is in the county. So this is information gathering. It would be different than construction notification. So it's kind of two separate kinds of notifications. The construction notifications, once, we're ready to break ground. So this will be like next year. This is the planning part, where we're asking Larkspur residents to let us know what they would like to see using their funds, the city funds. So that's the reasoning behind choosing these houses that are directly around the park and would be most directly affected by any changes to this park. Second set of people that are going to be, I'll be sending is there are six people over the last few years who have asked me, reached out to me, hey, can you let me know when the project is starting? Some of them live in this area, some of them are actually county residents. So I'll be going ahead, since they asked me, I will let them know that this survey is available. And then the last group of people will be from A-frames and you'll see on that little upper right-hand corner, little picture of the barricade. I'll just have those out at the park, and it'll be nicer than this. This is just a real rough and ready one that I used for something else, but it'll be a little bit more polished. But I will have that out of the park. So this is capturing park users. And that's who Julian and I believe we want to hear from. We want to hear from the people that are directly affected by any kind of construction. We want to hear from park users, and we want to hear from people that have some sort of interest in the park. The information about the survey will also be in the 3 official city postings, one at Greenberry at Bonner Shopping Center, one at City Hall in the front there in the porch, and then the last one was in the country market. So that's the thought. And the survey, I would like to have it stay open for probably about 8 weeks, which seems long, but at the same time, I want to get people that are using the park in the summertime and then flop into maybe a week or 2 after Labor Day when school is back, people are back from vacation, school has been back in session for a while, and pick up people that maybe were on vacation, maybe they use it because it's part of their going to school routine or something like that. So those are my thoughts on who to survey and for how long.
Sounds great.
Okay, yes,
Could you explain a little bit more the thinking behind not reaching out to the immediately adjacent residences?
Yeah.
That would also be impacted by construction.
right, so, so this was Julie and I were talking about this quite a bit, and so what he said is these are Larkspur, this is Larkspur funds. And we want to hear from people that are, paying taxes, property taxes are in Larkspur. There's a difference, once we start construction, I would definitely include these people saying, hey, in 3 weeks, we're gonna be breaking ground. And, this will, there'll be traffic, da, 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 da. So that's the thinking there. So. Because first I was like, oh, I think we should notify these, and then Julia's like, well, it's like, well, if they want or don't want something, they can go to the county and say, hey, I want a pickleball court. Can you, and use your funds to do that, we're not wanting. We're not wanting to necessarily, this, I mean, again, I'm wanting to get feedback from you, but our thinking is that we really want to hear what Larkspur residents want, and because they are paying, for this funding.
I'm looking at the Google map of it,
Yeah,
and the group on the,
that's not in highlighted in yellow,
Right.
28, 30, 30.
yeah, that line right there,
Mhm.
they're actually physically closer than the
Yeah.
highlight.
right,
But they're on
Yeah.
county
They're on
property.
county.
yeah, they're on county, yeah,
And I get the logic behind that they're not Larkspur taxpayers, but they're, if you look at the Google map, if you look at the building,
yeah,
the property line, they're physically closer to the park. There's a street separating, well, I think it's a pathway, what's a street, there's a car on it.
So they
I
wouldn't,
keep waffling myself. I'm not, so I'm just, yeah,
I will just say from my personal perspective, and I understand the differentiation, especially when you're a
Yeah.
public employee.
Yeah.
There is a big difference between the city and the county, but when you start excluding or making exceptions in outreach from the very beginning, which this feels like this is your first foray,
mhm,
it's just hard, it would be hard to defend.
And
those
especially,
groups. And could potentially just sour a relationship that you still are gonna need for the construction for that. So I would just pass that on to Julian, that like, I think it's better to be, or not even inclusive, consistent with the you're reaching out to the first row of houses around the park.
at least these right here,
their backyards are the park, basically. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think you gain more than you lose
I think
in terms of
you might
goodwill.
gain an enemy versus, might not be at the end, if you include them now.
And also, I would imagine, in a neighborhood, I'm sure the folks in the yellow don't look, are talking to the people in the not yellow, and sort of there's a big, I got a mailer. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're about paying their taxes, yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah, it's see who paid their taxes or didn't.
now, granted, the user thing, if they're users, they can, but I'm just,
mhm,
it seems that you're starting your outreach already sort of in an inconsistent way that doesn't feel defensible from the public's perspective, not the public sector's.
Well, and then wouldn't they have an opportunity away from the sawhorse, that you put out?
well, yes, they
Yeah,
would,
they
yeah,
would.
yeah,
I think
Yeah.
that's how he's justifying it, but.
But we're saving on mailers.
Yeah, I'd say it's the mailing costs is what.
no, it has nothing to do with the cost, I mean, it's,
It's
it's.
Okay,
you
so
know,
it
it's
really
$20.
has to do with jurisdictional issues.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so again, I'm seeing it from both sides as well, and so I thought, I'm gonna let the PRC know, and, and then I would like to get your feedback, so include the county people. Jean, you're sort of the same, yeah,
I think you gain more with sugar than
Mhm.
vinegar at this point.
yeah, what do you think, Reed?
I'm kind of on the fence on this one, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
you go to the end of Magnolia and there are some property developments proposed and they're technically on Larkspur land. Those hearings all took place in Larkspur and the people that chimed in Larkspur. So I could see both ways. And
Mhm.
yeah, if you think it's gonna be an obstruction to getting the project done or draw it out over a longer period of time or add the cost, then
Mhm.
I would use that as your
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of arbiter choosing which direction to go.
Vicky, did you want to voice anything or just?
I can see it both ways.
Both ways?
I definitely understand jurisdictional issues. But I also appreciate that, including them might shorten some resistance should it come about.
Yeah. Yeah, because, right, so one thing, so I'll move on to the next one, because I think this will help also, so one thought I had is that because, you know, I can tweak the survey, like the survey that you, or I should say, it's the same survey, but I can weight certain people more than others. So my thought was the people that are highlighted in yellow. So these are the people that are most affected and they are the Larkspur residents. So in some ways, I feel like their opinion should weigh the most.
Yeah.
And so they can be like group A. Group B can be people that have, really everybody that, you know, the people that are at the park and they're, you know, they're entering the QR code so they can get to the web, to the survey, online survey. They can be sort of group B. So we'll have sort of two groups. So it's the people that are in yellow and then everybody else. And then that way, because people that use the park, they may be coming from Green Bay, they could be coming from Fairfax, they're hitting the park on the way out or on the way in or whatever. So, you know, and it's important. I mean, these are people that use the park, so that would be good. But I do really feel like that it's important that the people that are most affected by the park have, you know, that we really honor and you know, put consideration on what they have to say. So I guess my question to you might be that group A, would it feel better to add them to that? You know, the people that we're talking about, the one that are in the county jurisdiction, but backing up against the park. Would it feel okay to have them be part of group B, or would you want them to be part of group A? I know we're really like drilling into the nitty gritty of it, but maybe if we put them in group B, then it feels a little more.
I'll jump in and just say that I would recommend including them in group A.
Okay.
And A is, again, this county city differentiator. If you showed this map to anybody on this, on this thing, they would think that they were not second thing. But they would just immediately feel excluded because of the inconsistency. Although the county line goes there, but the inconsistency that you surveyed that we're not being included in kind of the immediate, you know.
We're
putting up
definitely
construction,
Yeah.
but it's.
Yeah,
I-
my
I get
opinion
you.
doesn't matter as
Yeah.
much.
Okay, so we'll just add them to group A and be done.
And I just say
Yeah.
I'm just thinking the worst case scenario that someone gets and not necessarily stir things up in a way that doesn't feel.
Yeah.
Good, and I mean, our parks, obviously, they're Larkspur city parks, but to your point, we know that they're used by folks in the county,
Almost all regional parks.
just as we,
We get that.
Use- just as we use county parks. And feel that my voice should be heard.
That's a really good point. It's measuring money, even though it's our allocation of it,
It's still the same sales tax. Cool. Okay, all right, like it.
Oh, I didn't even know this, I thought this is,
it's measuring money, so
oh,
it's.
but that's, I don't think.
Seals the deal for you. Okay. All right. So moving on to, now we know, who, and then, the length of the survey, the duration of the survey, does that feel good? Getting into flopping into the school year, right? Okay, so now that we know how long and who we're gonna be sending the surveys to, want to get into just what we're gonna be asking, so, basically what I wanna know is what's working for you, what's not working for you at the park. There are uses that are going on out there that, people may or may not like, and we wanna hear about that. Also what's missing, what do you feel like is needed here? I'm gonna add some, questions to make sure that people that don't want anything done also have a box to check. And then kind of just an overall, like, currently, what is your preference for activity level? Again, it's just like, are you happy with the status quo? Do you wish that it was more active? Is it too active? Do you wish that it was less active? So just kind of more like feeling questions. And then at the end of the survey, people will be asked to, respondents will be asked to provide contact information so that I can then send them a follow-up survey. So this first one is kind of like what's working, what's not working, very broad, general questions, just to feel what the temperature is out there for this project. So that's the preliminary survey number one. So this is the one that'll be open for 8 weeks. Once we get that information, crunch. And I'll be coming back to you with the results of that first preliminary survey, say, hey, this is what, this is what it sounded like. And, depending on what, is what comes of that, this is where I will start to come up with some costs for, whatever it is people, perhaps have said that they might like to see. One thing to note is that repairs kind of have to come off the top, so that I gave you that budget earlier for, was it $80,000, for the construction. So out of that, the repairs do need to come first. That would be the pathway, the path that goes around the park is in pretty bad shape. So that would need to be rehabilitated. And then probably the basketball court is also, it needs some help out there. So those two things would be, items 1 and 2, and then after that would be anything else. So it's gonna be a minor, these are gonna be minor repairs, and if people come up with things that are more expensive, we can add that as a phase 2, in the CIP. So currently, this first phase will definitely be repairs, get things, to a serviceable level. And then there's a lot of support for something else. We can always identify that as phase 2 in future years.
Can I ask a question about the basketball court? I don't remember it, so I'm just curious why there's the assumption that is that part of the master plan?
Well, there's a basketball court there, and it's
Yeah.
just, it's cracked, its weeds are coming up, it needs to be rehabilitated.
I'm wondering, what if the feedback we get from the community is
Oh, we don't
turn
want
the
that back.
basketball court into a beach volleyball thing or whatever, like. Okay. I was thinking, but that's gonna really, can you imagine? No, I'm
Yes.
curious
Uh-huh.
why that
Okay.
assumption is that basketball court, is that something?
Well, I'm assuming that's what, because we do get people saying, hey, what's going on with the basketball
Okay.
court? Yeah, so
Okay.
I'm assuming that's gonna come up, but yeah,
It's an
that's the
existing
beautiful.
use, yeah.
That's the thing about the surveys, like, nobody cares about the basketball. In fact, could you take this thing down? That certainly would be a consideration.
I imagine that's a pretty big piece of the budget, so. I don't know, I'm curious
Mhm.
how so that's gotten kind of your.
So, yeah, so right now, this could be, so, the first survey is gonna be like, hey, what's missing, what's working, what's not working, if people are saying, if the basketball thing is not even coming up, right?
Right.
Then, it can be, and so this is where the analysis and sort of like figuring out what's the message that's being, what are people saying? And so the phase 2, the follow-up survey can specifically say, do you have any thoughts about the basketball court? The first one, I don't wanna
right.
lead any,
You don't-
send
yeah,
leading
yeah.
questions,
It's a good-
yeah.
It's a good survey.
Yeah, so the second one will be more drilling into specifics, like, do you use the basketball court? If we were to, you wanna be the best. That's it. So, and it could be more than 2 surveys, I don't know, we could do, maybe after step 2, we get more information. So that's sort of like on the very last slide. This is where it's like data extrapolation, what does the data say? Was the data pool robust enough? Should more different outreach be conducted? So this is, so I'll be coming back to you after each survey, say, this is what I'm seeing. You tell me if you see something different.
I love your survey questions, those were great. Going back to, I think earlier this year, when we were talking about Piper Park, one of the things that helped me understand the dilemma between the pickleball and paddleball players, we had some data from Placer AI where we're understanding the overall usership of the park.
Right.
And we looked at our subset of data within that to get some context to our decision. Do we have any data of that type for this park on, how many folks are there on a given weekend, and then that would help us? with
I'll
the
get into it a
survey.
little bit in the next presentation, but for Greenberry School Park, the user pool was too small to pull.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, most of the parks where the user pool was too small to pull that in. I'll explain more.
Okay.
Why
That's
in the
great.
next.
Thank you
item,
very
yeah.
much.
I know, it'd be great if it was
Yeah.
bigger, I know. Yeah, because I was saying to Nick, I was like, oh, it'd be great if we could like, oh, yeah, there's like, 25% of the people that come, between, 6:30 and 8:30 are there for 10 minutes,
Yeah.
oh, dog walkers, right?
Yeah.
Like that, but yeah, it's just, you can't get that kind of, fine-tuned information.
Thank you.
So anyway, any other questions or concerns about the planning process to date? Now, you're just gonna go ahead and proceed with the preliminary survey, if that, with including those homes in that row there, a county road.
No more questions? Great, thanks.
Okay, that's my
Very
current
helpful.
update. Okay,
Very, very
thank you.
helpful. All right, Nick, 5.3, parks data.
Thank you. All right, so I've been promising it for a while. The county has signed on, and collectively, we've all kind of signed into this Placer AI reporting, which is essentially tracking people's cell phones through certain applications that they have on their phone, and tracking location, and it's a lot to listen through. So it's some of the stuff I'm going to show you, I don't know, from a business standpoint, I can see how a lot of this, how valuable this information is. From a park standpoint, it's maybe not quite as valuable. I don't know how to monetize it, but it's definitely going to show you some interesting stuff. And again, I think I'm just kind of scratching the surface right now. So this is a preliminary report to you guys to kind of show you what kind of stuff you can see, and at the end, if you guys have anything that you want me to kind of delve into, that I can start exploring down the line. All right, so the main thing, so the parks that we were able to pull for this, and thanks to Colby Gleason with the city manager's office that helped me pull all this stuff. We were able to pull data for Piper Park and Niven, and then we were able to pull some stuff for Remillard, but I think that was skewed data mainly because of the path right there. So I'm not going to include that in the report. Piper Park had 310,000 visitors over. This is for the year 2023, January 1st through the end of December, and that is. You see that number at the top, and then a little bit down, you'll see the number of visitors. So those are the number of different people that came to the park was over 61,000. Comparable parks, Town Park had, over the same period, 232,000 and 54 unique visitors. Memorial Park in San Anselmo had 92,000 and 25,000 unique visitors. So you can see Piper Park is getting a lot of traffic. I am looking at down the line, creating a much larger report with a bunch of different parks, because I had initially thrown these 2 parks out to get data on, thinking that it would be, yeah, I kind of had thought the Town Park might have a little bit more than Piper, but was corrected on this.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
about Piper Park? Is it so precise geographically that you can disaggregate the school kids that all have their phones with them, look at ball and?
Yes, and I'll show you that too. So what it doesn't do is it's not able. I can pull out the parking lot from certain reports, so it would take the parking lot out. So anybody that perhaps came and dropped off their children and pick up and stuff. So those are things that we can pull out. I did not for most of this report. There is one section that I did pull that out. You know, I don't remember how many students are at Hall. I think it's under 600. So when we look at 61,000 visitors to Piper Park, that was even if it was just counting the kids that were at Hall as part of that, and even their parents, it's a pretty small percentage. The months that they visit. So this all checks out. So we're getting most of you know, it's quieter in the winter, but starting in May, it kind of ticks up and then finishes out through October. So May through October is when we're getting the bulk of the visitors. So the dwell time, or the average stay time for people, I found interesting and felt pretty spot on. Yeah. So the average stay was 78 minutes and the median stay was 57 minutes. So you can see the bulk of people stayed 15 to 30 minutes. So I don't. A quick dog walk, a quick play at the playground. I don't know. I don't know exactly what that looks like. I don't know how to read that data. And then Monday through Friday was pretty even, which did kind of shock me. I was expecting a big uptick on Saturday and Sunday, but
Yeah.
Again, I work at the park, so I mean it is busy all day, every day. So part of me is not shocked by this even spread throughout the week. Same thing. So our this is the hours that people come to visit. You see it really picks up in the evening, I think after work. This also coincides with sports, you know, after school sports. Dog park visits, pickleball, tennis. I think everything is reflected in these in this graph here. I mean, yeah.
Are we able to like put this on a certain day? So if we wanted to say, look at Friday's awesome event that we're gonna have, music in the park, and see how many folks come to that, so we can see how well Funk Nugget does against our headliner this Friday.
Yes. Yeah, so this, what I should have led with this, I think 400 is the number that we're having to pull in order to access data to it. So
Okay.
so the reasoning, the privacy laws surrounding this is that if they're monitoring City Hall right now and they say 6 people in City Hall and they want to know where they're going, what they're doing, there's obviously privacy things that come into play. So the minimum number, I want to say it's 400.
Okay.
So for something like the park, if I were to stretch out that data, it would really have to be like an all-day kind of thing. So I don't think we're getting I know we're not getting 400 people at that event yet. And so once we.
It was good.
So once we do get there, we can pull. I was able to in my initial marketing call that Rita and I had, he was able to pull, I believe it was one egg hunt that we got the minimum
Mm.
number to pull from. I think it was a nighttime egg hunt at
Nice.
Piper, so, so. We're right on the cusp of getting that kind of data from events. And again, if it was, how many people are having picnics in the park over the day and over the course of, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., we'll draw 400 people. So at that point, we could pull that data, but this data, not so much. But we're getting there.
Awesome.
I think I brought this up to you, where are people coming from, where are they going afterwards? So the bulk of people are coming from home and going to home. Big group going to work. I think I mentioned that Safeway is like number 3. So people before, or, coming from Safeway are going to Safeway. And I don't know if this is reflective of the whole town center or if it's just Safeway, but I'm pretty sure it is just that Safeway. I think the accuracy is pretty spot on. And Safeway start selling some park goods and recreation stuff and make some money that way, probably. I don't know how I make that money for the parks.
Interesting, the Golden Gate Park, that's.
And then again, Golden Gate Park, I don't know why.
that's so random.
So this is one of my favorite things that we pulled. This is a heat map of activity at Piper. So we originally pulled this and it was all red in the parking lot. It's just, that's where the aggregate data was.
Right, see Vicky on the,
Whether I know.
pickleball court.
Great. What is
You're
this?
moving so fast.
What's that?
What is this photo?
When?
Yeah.
This is over the course of 2023. Yeah. So it doesn't, so this actually doesn't, this is a Google map. So it doesn't even show the dog park, which was actually built at this point. So the satellite
That's the
image.
red spot is where the dog park is.
Exactly. So the red spot, the hot spot seems to be the dog park there. For this map, this is one where we were able to cut out the parking lot so that it didn't skew our data and make it seem like we were having huge parties in the parking lot. So you can see the hotspots. I'm not surprised by any of this. The dog park is getting a lot of use. The middle of the tennis court right there, I think that can be attributed to the pickleball gatherings that happen right there. You see a lot of use of the playground, the sand volleyball courts off to the right too. That's typically where the teams and people that are practicing or whoever's out there playing just sets up their stuff right there. Yeah, the other on the right, you can see our picnic area, and this is a testament to the shade structures that we have out there right now. The top part of the picnic area, kind of closest to the softball diamond there, is a shaded structure that, let me tell you, until a few years ago, before those shade structures are up, nobody used. So I do want to go back and pull some data from like 2018, if it even exists, to see what the change in usage has been. But we do have a lot of tables off to the right that there's no heat there. Which is funny because in the summer it's only heat. There's no shade. So you can see that they're not being used as much. You can see a trail.
This is shady.
Yeah, exactly, down below. You can see a trail of heat around the perimeter path, also out to the dock as well.
Wow.
I think some of I know that at the north end of the park, the top up there, you can see a little bit of green up there. I know that a lot of people will go with their dogs out there after work.
I think there's a group of dog owners that hang out there.
And also that's where cricket hangs out.
And then off to the left, yeah,
Cricket, they
Yep.
sit there all weekend.
yep. Down along, you can see the path again, and then a lot of use around the restrooms there, which I trip, and then I think the bleachers, softball bleachers are right there too. So I think there's a good amount of people hanging out there for softball. And then way off to the left, you can see that's the hall synthetic field that we oversee, and that's typically where parents would be watching games. So, a very cool map. I've spent a lot of time looking over it and trying to pull it for the other parks too, but it's not quite the same. Any questions about? This, is, I don't know if I can zoom in on this, but this is the route that people are taking to get to the park. And this is where it starts to get really kind of a little bit much for me. So you could see, most people are coming from 101, taking Doherty in, a lot coming from the Kent Field side too. I guess there's really only two routes in, so that's not surprising to see this. Any questions about Piper? I'm gonna move on to Niven. So we can just watch what Vicky's doing.
I'm right now thinking that in the future I will walk without my phone.
Or just turn it.
Default,
Yeah.
right.
One of your location.
So Niven Park, obviously a much smaller park, and had 21,000 visits from 6,500 folks. Average dwell time there was 36 minutes.
It'll be interesting to see this after.
Oh, it's going to change.
And the months of usage, no surprises again, picks up a lot in the summertime. Average stay time much shorter at Niven, which I think we might see a shift in this as well. Later in the week, dog walking. And then I think we all see this play out there, a lot of before work and after work, evening and morning times. And this is for Reed.
All right, look at that.
So you can see the numbers from home, but it's not nearly the same percentage of people coming from home and going home. A lot of people going to the Bon Air Center next door, a lot of people going to and from work.
Look at Pizza Pop.
Yeah, I would expect that to be high, right?
Yeah. Oh, very cool.
So if you want that.
Yeah, no, this is phenomenal.
Yeah, and it's actually
Thank
interesting
you.
because I didn't even think about it, but all these, Pete's and Molly's stones are
Right.
Bon Air anyway, so you really have.
Yeah.
impressive
Like
visitation.
20 feet away, so
Yeah.
it's amazingly high fidelity.
And then you got UPS.
This tourism.
Where's,
Uh,
where's CVS?
Yeah.
Routes that people are taking to get there. Like a good amount of folks coming from Kentfield and Santa Fe as well. So not as many people, it feels like, coming from south.
Oh, no heat map on that one?
No heat map on that one. I didn't pull it. That's a tougher map to pull. And I kind of felt like it wasn't gonna reveal anything. It's kind of a spread even. I think it's gonna be interesting to see once that playground goes in.
Yeah. It's really reveal something. Oh, yeah.
Thanks for my CIA.
Yeah.
Yeah, any questions?
It was great, thanks, Nick.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I think I felt how you feel. Yeah.
Okay, wow.
It's kind of neat, it's kind of creepy.
Right? It's very creepy, but like you said, it'll be great to look at Niven in a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's going to be very dramatic.
And if there's anything that you guys think about later, you don't have to come up now, but if there's any kind of stats you want to see, I do plan on pulling like like more regional parks, and just getting a numbers comparison, because we'll talk about it a lot around budget, but Larkspur keeps a very slim staff compared to most municipalities and especially the county. And so to pull that many visitors to a park that's run by such a small municipality is really a testament to how hard DPW works to keep the park in good condition.
Is there a comparable park for Santa Fe?
No, in Santa Fe, it's likely the county parks. So I would say McNear's is probably gonna be the most comparable, and we're not gonna pull, I would assume that the usership there is a lot higher, so a much larger park. So that is likely one that I will be pulling. And then I haven't quite decided which ones I want to pull yet, but I think Mill Valley has some ones that I can potentially look at, as well as Novato, and then the county parks, I think, are a good source for us.
It'll be a good tool. I know we're not doing a full master plan, we're doing a modified master, whatever we're calling it.
Mhm.
But that'll be going to be a helpful tool.
Yes, I think
when we
so.
Look at the master plan project.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions, Fran? If not, we'll move on to the director's oral report. Back to you.
It is a great meeting.
All right.
Not to.
Yes.
So the bad news first, as Vicky knows, the pickleball tournament was canceled. I think it was a combination. We kind of pumped it out a little bit too quick. Marketing probably wasn't as good as it could have been. So I think we're gonna look at doing a fall tournament, and I'll let you guys know once that gets set up. We did have a good amount of signups for it. It was just the different divisions were so spread out that it didn't make sense to lump everyone together. Yeah, for the sake of competition. So. Otherwise, music in the park has been going really well. Personal matters have kept me away from the last 2 months, so thank you, Gene and the Larkspur wrecking crew for stepping up, and thank you to Gianni for spreading his wings and taking charge for me in my absence. Sounds like it's been going great. The last two were really well attended, and Larkspur Community Foundation is sponsoring the June events. So the next one is coming up is tomorrow. We're gonna have Mitch Polzak in the Royal Deuces, which is a rockabilly band out of the East Bay. So I think it's a little outside of the norm, but I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, and I think they're really good performers too. So I think it's gonna be a lot of fun out there. The wrecking crew will be out selling drinks and snacks. So we'd love to see you guys all there tomorrow night. The some work was just completed in the garden. So the garden, first of all, right now looks amazing. If you guys have a chance to come out, if you want to set up a time I can let you in, and you can wander around. But the community garden looks great, and thank you to Stephen Connor for staying on people about managing their plots. Everything's looking amazing. Public Works was able to get some work done. It's 42-year-old garden. The infrastructure's starting to kind of fall apart. So there's a retaining wall that was coming down, along with some ramps that go up to the newer plots. So that was a pretty big project that we were able to get done. They're just about done. They should be done this week. So it's exciting, looks great. Everyone's really happy with it, because it's, again, something that we've all seen coming for 5, 6, 7 years. The retaining wall just keeps leaning and leaning and leaning. Not anymore. And finally, thank you guys for filling out the polls for this summer. It looks like July, we're gonna cancel the July meeting. I don't think we're gonna have enough people for that. And so it looks at this point like the August one will be a go, assuming we have agenda items for you all. And that was it.
We'll have to notify that. Hopefully I'll have a big update on the park by the August.
Okay, great. Commissioners reports, anyone?
I would like to say, Music in the Park, a special thank you to Gianni. We had two without our leader, and Gianni was amazing. We had we just totally stepped up. We were down a man, and he was there early. And it's definitely a team effort between wrecking crew and Park and Rec that night to get everything set up, and so he was great. Yeah, you know, tonight, or tomorrow night and the 28th, last two, so, again, come out. And then, there was a special city council meeting on Monday of this week, and then they're off for the next two meetings. But I was very happy, there was a consent item on the agenda, and they passed it. It was the awarding of the contract to Alten, which is the architect firm who is designing the library. They got their final contract. We met with them. All the stakeholders met with Alten 2 weeks ago. We met with them at CTV. They presented their final drawings. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful building. I've never gone to a final drawing and not pick something apart. We find that shocking. I never find that shocking. It was absolutely beautiful. And so they are hard at work. We are probably, fingers crossed, gonna have the groundbreaking. So the library is just been moving along. So very, very excited. Very, very excited. Like contracts and everything. So building plans and everything. So it'd be great. So it'll go before the planning commission for that final design when they come back with their final plan. Very quickly.
It's exciting. Anybody else? All right, well, with that, we could entertain a motion to adjourn.
Nope,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Great, thanks, everybody.
What, that's a long meeting. Concerts are at